And welcome, Hoosier Nation, to our 7th episode of a new show called the Hoosier Sound. I am your host, Noah Freeman, and I'm delighted to present you with this brand new podcast. I'm here with Matt Lukens and Noah Skibby, and we're here to give you the scoop of some IU sports. We are an IU-centered podcast that focuses on IU sports such as basketball, football, and more from the point of view as a student or young adult. To end each show, we will also give our view on hot takes from around the world of sports. We will be going live every Tuesday evening at 7:30 p.m. But if you miss us live, you can subscribe to our various networks so you can listen on your own time. We are now on iTunes or Apple Podcast, Google Play, our new iHeartRadio. Check that out, guys. It's pretty cool. iHeartRadio, really easy to listen to the content there. But we're also on Stitcher, and our live stream each week will be posted on our YouTube page after each recording. All you got to do is search for the Hoosier Sound wherever you listen to podcasts and just hit subscribe. Click that if you're on the live stream. Just click that the little box in the right hand corner, and the videos will just pop up for you when they're published. It's really simple, really easy, and it would mean a lot to us if you guys hit that subscribe button for us. Social media is also big for us, and we post updates for you guys on Facebook and Twitter. Make sure to give us a like and a follow, as well as subscribe in our YouTube account. All of the information is in the description below. Lastly, you can check out our website, thehoosiersound.wordpress.com, to find all of our information in one place. All right, it's time for some sports talk. This past weekend, college basketball tipped off, finally. Yes. It tipped off in the form of Hoosier Hysteria for IU fans. Matt and Skibby were not able to attend. Matt here was actually at the Michigan State game, but we'll get to that soon. But I was there, so I'll give you guys a brief recap of what I saw at the event. So let's start with the crowd, because that's something that everyone's always interested in. Lines. I was on the back side, so I didn't. It wasn't that. That's not the front side. So there wasn't as many people as last year, from what I was seeing. Inside, the crowd filled up most of the lower level. I personally, it was a great atmosphere, but I personally was still just a little disappointed in the amount of people that showed up, honestly, because it's Archie's first year. We got Romeo in the audience. There's a lot to be optimistic about. So I'm honestly a little surprised that all of the lower level wasn't filled and that we didn't have a good amount of people in the upper stands, but we still had a good showing. The other thing I was a little disappointed about, a lot of the people left pretty early. Some of them didn't even wait till halftime of the scrimmage. I know the pre-scrimmage stuff went a little longer than possible, but it still didn't look that great for the recruits sitting there, especially the side that the recruits were sitting on. The opposite side that they were staring at happened to be where most of the Hoosier fans left. But speaking of recruits, it was a huge night for IU recruits. So before Hoosier Hysteria started, about 6:40-ish. They walked. A lot of the coaches and families, they were able to literally just walk across the court to their designated seat from one end to the other. So all legal. They literally just walked and took a seat. But Romeo came first. He got the biggest standing ovation. A lot of chants followed. It was really cool to see. You got to check out some of the Twitter hype. A good website to check all that out is insidethehall.com. They've got a lot of information about what all the parents have said. Romeo's parents had a very nice tweet, basically, about Romeo's visit. Darius was the second loudest. He was also the second to come out. The rest of them were about the same. Multiple Romeo chants and a few Darius chants also ensued throughout the course of Hoosier Hysteria. So it's really cool that they were literally people were just really obviously wanting them to come here. But so I'm not sure what they thought. Personally, I'm a little worried with how wowed they might have been. It was a really cool crowd and everything. I'm just not sure how it compares to the other Midnight Madnesses that the other schools have done. But
well, I can tell you firsthand that Michigan State's Midnight Madness was not as hype apparently as Indiana's. I was at MSU's Behind Enemy Lines. got to see the number 3 team in the nation's Midnight Madness, and they were leaving before the scrimmage even started. They didn't have a dunk contest. They didn't have a 3-point shooting contest. The women had a scrimmage, then the men's had a scrimmage. And they didn't like show off any recruits. There was no chanting, nothing. So I think ours went a lot better than Michigan State's.
And obviously, who is it? Trace Jackson Davis. He was a big guy between IU and Michigan State. He obviously wouldn't have been there at Michigan State because he was at IU. But the recruits that were in the house for Hoosier Hysteria, the 2018 recruits that have not yet committed were Romeo and Darius Garland. Not a surprise. They said they were coming, especially Romeo saying that it was going to be his official visit, which was also good news. 2019 recruits were Keon Brooks Jr. and Trace Jackson Davis. So those were big. And if I remember right, Keon was wearing red as he walked across the court. Obviously, you don't want to wear the school's shirt because you haven't committed yet. But that was pretty interesting. Their entire family was wearing red, which none of the other commits did, except for the commits that for the IU commits that have already said they were coming to IU, which were Demezi Anderson was there, Robert Finney, and Jerome Hunter. Those that already committed were there. So that was really, really cool. Just Jake Forrester was the only one wasn't there. All right, but into the event itself. They started out with obviously like introductions and all that stuff between the men's and the women's team. But for the 3-point contest, they did a little differently this year. They had 4 teams, and each team had 2 pairs. So they had a men's and a women's team in each pair, and they both shot. They had 2 teams going up against each other, so 2 pairs shooting a minute, and to see basically which side could get more points, which was really interesting to speed it up a little bit. So they only had 3 3-point contest going to find the winner. And the winner of the 3-point contest was Josh Newkirk and Allie Patberg, which is the brand new, really exciting recruit for IU women. She actually was at Notre Dame, and she's now transferred to IU. So obviously Notre Dame women's basketball it's the cream of the crop, the top of the top there, and she's now at IU. So go out and see some women's games, folks. They got obviously with Tyra. They're going to be a pretty good team this year.
Is she allowed to play? She's allowed to play, right?
Yeah, she is. She tore an ACL last year. She transferred, so her eligibility, I'm pretty sure she's allowed to play.
Okay, awesome.
But dunk contest, honestly, it was terrible. They had 4 people go. They were going to have the top 2 basically go on after their first dunk. And it was just, they did not even plan some of these dunks out, and it didn't look necessarily great. Cujo ended up winning with jumping over Deron Davis with the ball being thrown to him, basically. But Freddie, I also thought, had some good dunks. Give it what you will. That's about what happened. But scrimmage, the 2 teams. So the red team was Green, Jones, Smith, McSwain, Moore were the starting 5. Al Durham was injured, so he wasn't allowed to. He was held out, but he was on the team. But then to come out on the backcourt was Blackman, Priller, and Lasco. Then the white team was Johnny Jager, Rob Johnson, McRoberts, Morgan Davis. Hartman and Newkirk were also sat out. So then backing up the white team were Taylor and Thompson. Matt, who do you think ended up winning that scrimmage? I don't know if you ended up seeing the result, but who do you think out of the basically starters and then the immediate versus the immediate bench players?
I'm going to go with probably the white team one, just because I think the team of Robert Johnson, Juwan Morgan, and Deron Davis should be the 3 people that carry us on offense.
You would think so. You'd think so. But
yeah, red team won, didn't they?
Yeah, red team won. It was 21-12 at half, and then 40-31 for the final buzzer. And let's get into some of that. Who I have about 5 or so people that I had a few notes on. All right, let's start with Deron, because that's who we want to see, the new and improved Deron. He's extended his range some. He's able to shoot 10, 15-foot jumpers out pretty well. definitely a lot more agile. But when Archie mentioned like you want to see an immediate difference with him between like night and day type of stuff between last year and this year, I didn't see that, honestly. It was better. You could tell it was clearly better, but it wasn't like incredibly improved, which I was not concerned about, but it wasn't as good of a difference as I thought it would. He's aggressive when dribbling under the basket, better, but still not an incredible difference. His big problem is fouls. He had 4 fouls in 13 and a half minutes of play. Not good. Some of them, obviously, these are not great refs, but still, that's a big point. Someone that is going to impress a ton of people, and you wouldn't even think he'd get any playing time, is Johnny Jager. He started for the white team due to Newkirk's injury. He did not too bad. He's going to get some playing time, folks. He's not going to get a lot, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but he's going to actually be able to spot some people on the bench and not do too bad. He had really good passes inside. He was pretty confident. The only problem I saw was he dribbles way too much with one hand. So he's got to get used to just not dribbling all around with one hand. Let's go to Clifton Moore, one of these freshmen. He's still got to get bigger. Juwan was literally posting him up and backing him down, which Juwan Morgan is not. Obviously, he's a bigger guy, but he's not a post player, and he was just easily backing down Clifton. But despite that, he's still being aggressive. Zach McRoberts, we talked about last year, he needs to shoot and dribble the ball, not just pass it right away. He did that. He was dribbling up the court. He was shooting a few shots. He didn't shoot very good shots, but honestly, I'd take him shooting a terrible shot over not shooting right now, and it was a very good sign. He made a lot of really good plays. Awesome. Justin Smith, he's got a really pretty shot. It's really nice. It's really nice to see. He's going to be something special at some point. I don't think he's going to make a huge immediate impact, but the immediate impact he will give is some relieving time for the starters coming off the bench. He's going to be really good in the future, but as of now, I think he's just going to give some good relief minutes. But the breakout player of all breakout players, oh my goodness, Devontae Green looked incredible. Holy cow. It was like night and day for Devontae Green last year. Obviously, he did do really well in Hoosier Hysteria last year, but he was doing so well. He looked really good, a lot more mature, calm and composed. But all around, I think there are a lot of passing and moving the ball, which is good for IU. They're finishing better, or they need to finish better, actually. And they need to make more free throws. A lot of 3-point shots were being taken, but not a lot were going in. But the best sign of all, Romeo, the Hoosiers are your homeo.
Oh my God.
All right, let's move on to Michigan State. This past weekend, the Hoosiers again lost another heartbreaker in East Lansing, 17-9. Before I kick it over to Matt, we've had some technical difficulties with Skibby. Everyone, he was here, but his computer is literally dying on him right now. So we hope his computer works to get all of his schoolwork done. But before I hand it over to Matt real quick, I want to mention something. I'm not sure about you guys, but I know it's okay for the refs. It's not okay really for them to make up some of those bad calls, but there's a video going around on Twitter right now of Michigan State defensive end Kenny Wilkes literally punched Morgan Ellison in the throat at the bottom of a pile. I know, even our lineman, Delroy Baker Jr., he tweeted about it saying he tried to get the refs to do something about it multiple times and nothing. I don't know, and he's not. They already said he's not going to get punished this week. That's just even past the point of being dirty, and I don't even know how the refs couldn't even just look for punches being thrown. But before I go off on too much of a rant, Matt, what did you see at Michigan State?
Well, I was there in the stands. First off, I never saw that, and I don't think you could see it from the stands. There was one play, I think I probably saw it on television, where Morgan got up and was visibly upset and was walking around and screaming.
Yeah, it must have been the play.
Yeah, and I had no idea what was going on. I just see him going around screaming. I was like, something must have happened. So that explains it. Refs were On a level from 1 to Michigan game,
Mhm.
close to Michigan game, but not quite Michigan game. Of course, the Big Ten refs, so we're always going to complain about them.
Yeah.
But I'll leave that as it is. They were terrible. Probably one of the more heartbreaking games I've been a part of. Just because we were doing so well for 3.5 quarters, which is always seems to be what happens. And we got this motto, break through, right? Like, I thought that maybe this was our chance on the road to a team that had just beat Michigan, maybe looking ahead to like further matchups like Penn State in 2 weeks or whatnot. And I thought, oh, maybe this is our chance. And yet again, they let us down.
I know.
And it's not the defense's fault. Like, only allowing them 17 points on, I think they might have had 250 yards of offense.
It was honestly more. It was like 10 points because that last touchdown was to stop the clock. Literally, it was a gimme just to stop. Really,
Right.
10 points basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, Michigan State's offense couldn't do anything. We were about even the whole way through, and the problem is we were about even with the Michigan State offense that couldn't do anything. Our offense was not clicking. We could not run the ball, no matter how hard we tried. Obviously, Michigan State has a good run defense. I don't know why we just started running the ball for 3 downs.
Yeah.
And then just, oh, here's the ball again. I love you, Ramsey, but take some shots downfield. Literally, every pass was within about 5 yards. And then if you threw it downfield, it was way over the person's head, and it never connected. So, if there's a positive out of this game, that Michigan State fans actually were worried for 3.5 quarters. And apparently, according on Twitter, according to some reporters, they're saying that coach has been getting some texts from other coaches within the Big Ten that they were proud of how the Hoosiers have been playing football, which is great, but we're not winning games. So it doesn't matter how we're playing. It matters if we're winning or not. We're not winning. Somebody get Mike DeBoard some caffeine pills, because he was falling asleep in the 4th quarter. I don't know what he was doing. In our last drive, our chance to go and get a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion to tie it, this guy's calling run plays or like screens. Like, what are you doing?
With no timeouts
Timeouts. No, it was terrible clock management. You can't blame this on coach because he's not the one calling the offensive play calls. It's DeBoard, and DeBoard has been letting us down for now 2 or 3 straight games. Guy needs to take a step back, think about what he's doing, and maybe tweak some things. Maybe try putting Lego back in a bit, especially in times where our running isn't doing much. So we might as well put the guy that can at least throw the ball around the field in.
Yeah, I agree, especially because I love Ramsey, but he's not that throw the guy down, and we need those big plays to get thrown down the field.
We don't get any big plays, and it's not like we're going to get big plays out of the running game because our offensive line has not been blocking very well like it has been the past couple years, and our running backs aren't as talented. We're not going to get the big plays. Maybe luckily we'll get a 20-yard run, but even that, like, we don't get 20-yard runs. We just don't. I don't think we have one on the year. If it's from a running back, I think Ramsey might have one. But if it's from a running back, I don't think we even have a 20-yard run.
Yeah, I want to echo one of Skibby's points to get his voice on there. He was talking about, but the defense obviously did. Our defense is legit. I think they're now coming into their own after that game. They're playing consistent, and but we still need to get some turnovers. But he was talking about with now that we're a couple plays, a turnover or 2 against Michigan and MSU from being 5-2. And like we could easily go 9-3, like could have been 9-3, like at the end of the year or something like that. And that's breaking through. That's not like IU's breakthrough policy is supposed to be breakthrough, get those finally beat those ranked teams and stuff, which we're not doing, sitting at 3-4 and everything. But it's, yeah, I agree. But let's look ahead to Maryland. The Hoosiers are still on their mini road trip where they travel to College Park in D.C. to face the Maryland Terrapins for a pivotal game for IU, for the Hoosiers. And I'll start us off real quick. Maryland offense, they've got a decent QB. They've got one pretty good running back, and they've got one really good wide receiver in DJ Moore. Fant needs to have a much better game than he did against MSU, which he's not going to have those games every week, but he needs to have a much better game against DJ Moore. Otherwise, DJ Moore can put up 200 yards against someone, and they are going to give it to him a lot. He's basically their only consistent player. But their offense is 114th in total offense. So look for IU defense to play really well. If they have one of their normal games, they don't have a lapse against stuff, IU defense could start feasting on this Maryland offense. But saying all that, their passing game isn't the best, so they are going to look to run it more. So it's going to be more of that running stuff, just to see if we can stop the run, kind of what we've seen in previous weeks. Maryland defense, they're 93rd in total defense versus our 30th ranked defense. So Maryland is on the lower end of all of these ranked offenses and defenses. They give up an average of 36.71 points per game, and that's including their cupcake game, basically. But without that game, they give up an average of 42.83 points per game. So this needs to be the biggest wake-up call for IU offense that they have had the entire season. If IU offense can't get anything going this game, it is time to panic. I've held back judgment with panicking with the IU offense because we have played those really good programs, those blue bloods, regardless of if we should have won. I've held back judgment, but if we can't get going on this Maryland defense that gives up almost 40 points per game, it is time to panic for the IU offense, and something needs to change. But some of the good about Maryland that we actually need to be a little cautious about, they have beaten good teams. Remember, they opened up the season beating Texas, so they are a solid team and they can win good games. They've only committed 8 turnovers. That's not a lot at this point in the season. That's just over 1 per game, and they take away more than 8 turnovers. So they're so despite their defense giving up a lot of stuff, they actually are pretty solid with turnovers. And Maryland, honestly, they're about to be really good. I looked up their recruits that they have committed for next year. They already have 4 or 5 players past our top recruit for next year. And so they're going to have a lot of really top-notch people coming in. Don't be surprised if they play well. Matt, do you have any quick thoughts before we move on?
I think we can get a win here. I at least hope we do, because we need to be back at 4-4 with some games in hand, so hopefully we can get to a bowl game.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we it's a must-win game for the Hoosiers in a lot of ways to see how they play and also to keep staying on track for that bowl game. But last segment. All right. The World Series is set, guys. The games start tonight. In about 16 minutes, actually. The Astros will take on the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. First pitch is 8:09. But first, I want to introduce our very first guest on the Hoosier Sound. We're really excited. Here with us tonight is MLB extraordinaire Evan Lum. Evan is a senior at the University of Virginia studying public policy. And we're delighted to have him on the podcast tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. Extraordinaire. I don't think I'd go so far as say that, but it's an honor. It's an honor.
Oh, I'll say that. So
we're gonna put your knowledge to the test here.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man.
So real quick, we're going to look at our predictions we had 3 weeks ago when we made our playoff predictions. AL, NLCS. Teams, the amount of teams that we had right. Out of 4, I had 1 team, which was the Astros. Gibby had 2, which was Astros and Cubs, and Matt was the exact same, Astros and Cubs. World Series, Noah and Skibby did not have any right, and Matt had just 1 team, which was the Astros. So it was interesting, a playoff race so far. So
nice.
let's start off with Evan. Talk about your thoughts with just the playoffs so far.
All right. Well, first things first. Rip the Nats again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was just that. Especially that fifth inning in Game 5 of the NLDS. Like, I was just, I wanted to rip my eyes out. I mean, like, I was like, my AA little league team could, would be better than the trash that the Nationals are putting on the field right now. I mean, like, they had
too.
Well, it started with it was Scherzer. He was pitching. He comes in the fifth inning, right, to relieve, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay, then they're bringing in their ace, right?" It was a power move, and then he gets the first 2 outs. I'm like, "Okay, everything's going great," And
how
then,
it's supposed to.
And then like 3 straight hits, followed by a wild pitch, and then like a strike 3, pass ball, misses the first baseman, goes in the outfield, and then like a catcher's interference, and then a hit batter, and I was just like, I was like, this can't be real. And so it's the curse of DC sports.
It lives on.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I'm sorry.
And then of course they had to go crawl their way back to 9 to 8.
Yeah,
bottom of the 9th.
Right there.
I have my rally towel in my house from Game 2, but anyway.
That game was too stressful. As a Cubs fan, I was in my chair having like a seizure, just like I was like, I cannot be here. What is going on?
Me too. No, me too. I gave up early on. I ordered campus cookies from my house. Like I didn't even leave the house. Like I was just sitting in bed, lights off, like drinking with my towel over my head. Like anyway, it was
that's UVA's baked cookies is like our baked.
Really
Hoosier fans, yeah, that's like our baked.
Yeah, every college has one, but yeah, overall I think the playoffs have been pretty entertaining. Besides the wild card games, the Yankees and Astros series was, what a series. Dodgers Cubs. I do feel like I agree with a couple of you guys that I do feel like the Dodgers had a relatively easy time with the Cubs. I kind of felt it in the Nats series too. It's just like there are moments where I felt like, are they even trying? It's like you kind of have to wonder like how motivated they were this year after winning last year. You could tell they were playing with no pressure at all, which can be a good thing and also a bad thing. I mean, it seemed like against the Dodgers, they might have been tired from the Nats series because that
was a long series.
It was grueling.
And so,
well, also the Dodgers are so good. Like I don't think people realize how good this Dodgers team is because they had this terrible stretch at the end. Like they might have had a record number of wins if they hadn't slowed down.
Complete 180 at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think I was just also a little bitter still, but still lingering. We're getting over it. Figure out, who our manager is going to be. But yeah, playoffs have been pretty entertaining. Looking forward to this World Series. Both of these teams are going to be really fun to watch. I'm a big fan of pitching, and this World Series, like Kershaw against Keuchel in the first game, like that's going to be fun. And it's gonna, I think, in this World Series or in these playoffs in general, home field advantage has been like really crucial. No team can really win on the road, it seems. So the Astros are 6-0 at home, but 1-4 on the road, and the Dodgers are 4-0 at home. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if one of these teams can eke one out. at the opposing ballpark.
Yeah. What about you, Matt?
My thoughts on the postseason. Yeah. Dodgers, obviously the best team. I predicted the Diamondbacks to go to the World Series. I don't know why I had that feeling going in. And they made piecemeal of the Diamondbacks, and then of course my Cubs come up, and I'm like, oh, maybe the Cubs will do better, and the Cubs did one game better than the Diamondbacks did. So, I don't know. Dodgers really dominant. I have full belief in them now. But I did pick the Astros right. Take that, everybody. Looking at me thinking the Indians would make it. Nope, Astros.
In our defense, the Indians had not even they didn't even get to the they didn't even get to play the Astros.
Right, exactly. But I thought the Yankees really impressed me, which I shouldn't be saying, because if Tom hears me, he's going to bang on my door and start screaming about the Yankees. But I thought they're years ahead of schedule. I thought they were going to be rebuilding. So much for a rebuilding year. And then Cubs were kind of disappointing. Bullpen imploded. I thought our starting pitching was fine. I thought there was maybe Quintana had one bad game. Lester wasn't up to snuff too much, but I thought Arrieta and Hendricks was pitching fantastic for the most part. I thought our starting pitching would have been what carried us, but once we got past the seventh inning, all bets were off. And then also we weren't batting. Chris Bryant, I don't know where he was. I think he maybe had 6-7 RBIs the whole time. Not that many hits. Rizzo was okay in the division series, but when it came to the CS, where was he? Baez was 0 for 19 at one point in the Champions League series. So I was like, I don't know. Like you said, I don't think they were very motivated for it. Last year they were, let's go avenge losing in the NLCS the last year. Made it to the World Series, records show they won, and then this year. So there's always next year, as they say.
Yeah. I had one quick comment before we go on to the World Series preview. Skibby's not here. I was going to make fun of him. He made fun of me 3 weeks ago. I talked about how September stats were irrelevant to the playoffs, and he basically laughed me off. But this playoffs, it has been almost a direct 180 from how everyone's been playing in September. The hot D-backs, they were coming in so hot. Both Matt and Skibby picked them to go on. They got swept. They got absolutely blown out. Cubs. The Cubs, they were stalled by the Dodgers. The Cubs were playing pretty well. They still beat the Nats. They still kind of stalled and just kind of dropped off. And then the Indians, the Indians were supposed to be they were the World Series favorite and all that stuff. They just got stopped by the Yankees, basically.
Can you make that sound again? Oh yeah.
And, the Astros, I mean, they have been playing, and they are in the World Series, but they're still a little shaky. They've given up some pretty bad games. They haven't they've given up some 8-1 games and stuff like that. And then of course the Dodgers, who we talked about, were as cold as can be. There's no words to describe how cold they were at the end, and now they've been lights out. I think the clear favorite to win the World Series. It's just a really unpredictable playoff so far, which makes it really interesting.
Right?
Yeah. Corey Seager back.
Exactly.
Series.
But lastly, I personally, I did want the Astros to win, but the Yankees cursed themselves going into Game 7, and here's why. Saturday morning, the morning of Game 7, Rutgers, all comes back to Rutgers. Rutgers announced that the Maryland-Rutgers game, scheduled to play in Yankee Stadium on November 4th, was moved to Piscataway due to the Yankees' postseason run. Now, obviously, they did have to do it real quick for a lot of logistical reasons and everything, but I find it really funny that they had to just post that morning, and then they happened to get stalled and blown out in that game itself.
Which made me so happy.
Exactly. I think that's what did it. I think you're right.
So exactly. It was
exactly
Rutgers.
What happened.
It's always Rutgers.
Always Rutgers. But next, we look ahead to the preview against the Astros Dodgers. We'll try and make it quick for you guys. I know the game literally starts in 4 minutes. But Evan, give us your quick thoughts on the World Series preview.
Yeah, so it should be a great World Series. You know, first World Series in a while where it's been 200-win teams.
1970s, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna sit back and watch. I don't have a horse in this race. I think they're very evenly matched. I think Dodgers getting Seager back is really key. It's gonna help them match up offensively with the Astros, and I think ultimately this series comes down to home field advantage and bullpen. And I think the Dodgers, with their superior bullpen and how they were able to figure out, as playoffs started, their setup situation, how they're going to get the ball to Kenley Jansen. And so I think they're, if their starting pitching can hold up, which I think it will, bullpen's lights out, I think that makes a difference. I take the Dodgers in 6 games.
All right. We got one prediction. What about you, Matt?
All right. Well, like I said, Corey Seager's back. That means Dodgers offense that was already fantastic gets better. Obviously, what can I say about the Dodgers starting pitching staff when they have probably 3 aces on their staff, and they have a better bullpen, and they have a better closer, and they probably have just as good, if not better, of a coach. I have Dodgers in 7 just because I feel like there's going to be some heroics from the AL MVP, Jose Altuve. But I got Dodgers in 7. I think it goes 7 games. I think Keuchel probably wins his 2, and then Verlander gets 1.
I'm going to put Skibby just texted me saying that he still wanted his opinion out there. He said Dodgers in 5. So we got 3 Dodgers. So I wonder who I'm going to pick. Actually, I'm going to go the opposite. I'll say Astros in 7, which means that it means they've got to win on the road once. And like Evan alluded to, that's a challenge. It's been a challenge for every team in the playoffs this entire postseason. It's not a series until the home team loses. But I like Houston, all of the stuff that's happened with the hurricane and everything. I think just this almost it's not even really a Cinderella story, but basically with all that, just almost the Cinderella like story thing is just going to push them over the edge, and they're just going to have that extra oomph almost to just push themselves over the Dodgers. But that about wraps it up for our 7th show of the Hoosier Sound. Thank you so much for joining us, and please feel free to add suggestions in the comments section or contact us through our website. A reminder to follow us on Twitter at the Hoosier Sound, like our Facebook page, as well as subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe on either Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Stitcher, and iHeartRadio, and leave us a review. All the links are in the description below. Visit us at our website at thehoosiersound.wordpress.com to find all of our information regarding our podcast, and stay tuned for updates through social media. As always, send us your questions as the audience, so be sure to comment, chat, or send us a message on what questions you have, and we'll be sure to get them on our next episode. Lastly, if you enjoy our show, leave us a review, because the more reviews we get, the more our podcast grows. Tell a friend about us, share our links. It really helps, so we can keep getting you guys that top-notch content. But as always, thank you for listening, Hoosier Nation, and we'll see you next time.